We are here live at NBA Summer League 2024 with episode number 14 of Co-Courtside. Today, I have the pleasure of being here with Andy Bernstein, one of the most decorated, if not the most decorated, sports photographer of all time. How you doing today, Andy?
I'm good. That's quite a glowing tribute, my friend, but I'll take it.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, after 40 years of complete success in the photography industry, you decided to retire.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I've noticed, you've gone on to other ventures and projects. You have your podcast, Legend of Sport, and I also read that you're collaborating with Vanessa Bryant on a book to commemorate Kobe. Why are you deciding to continue to work and say, I've had enough of a successful career?
Well, great question, my friend. First of all, as my good friend Mark Thomas who was a longtime executive at Nike and retired after about 40 years like me, he said, I'm retired but not expired.
So you keep
so
going.
I'm retired from shooting on the court. Physically, I couldn't do it anymore. My doctor said, after he looked at my last MRI and he saw my back the way it was, he said, you know what, Andy, I think it's time that you walk off the court while you still can. So when your doctor tells you that, you know. And the NBA's been great about sort of weaning me off, working less, traveling less, but it was time. Mm-hmm. And, you know, just like the athletes know when it's time to go, I know it's time to go. Right. But also, to really answer your question more fully, Alex, you know, I got a lot left in my tank in terms of my work life. Mm-hmm. And I truly believe in Legends of Sport and the mission of what we're trying to do to elevate and document and illuminate former athletes, icons of the game that maybe need a little help. People remembering them, but also a place where you and your family and other fans can go for one-stop shopping of anything iconic in sports. So, you know, it's a bold vision, but it started 8 years ago with the podcast, and God willing, we're going to keep moving forward.
All right. And, you know, I've seen you these past 2 days here. You're clearly working hard with it.
Yeah.
Talk about the book with Vanessa Bryant a little bit, because obviously you did the book with Kobe a couple years back, and also Phil Jackson, so you have experience in that field as well.
Well, you know, it's interesting. After Kobe and Gigi so tragically died that day, all of us were devastated, of course. But what we saw almost immediately was this simultaneously outpouring of creative love for Kobe and Gigi through mural art, right? Mm-hmm. Nobody told muralists in Singapore and in South LA and Boston and Milan and Australia to start painting murals, but somehow, in some way, it all started happening. People wanted to express their grief in some formidable way through their creative expression. And of course, then we were in COVID, right? So it's a very solitary time when people could go out and paint and not have to, you know, be around other people or whatever. So I caught wind of that basically in about April, and a man named Mike Asner reached out to me, who I didn't know. He DM'd me through Instagram. And he said, hey, I'm a huge Kobe fan. I'm a creative guy. I've been in the digital space for a long time. I'm just as devastated as anybody about what happened. But I'm seeing these murals go up, and a lot of these murals are from your photos. People are doing artist renderings of photos, and he, of course, had followed my work and everything. And he wanted to talk to me, and we met over Zoom. And then he and I, literally in the depths of COVID, when we weren't supposed to be out, you know, we met at some murals, and we were standing, you know, 20 feet apart. We're looking at murals in LA, and the muralists were there, and it was just a transformative experience. So I was seeing through Mike's Instagram, which is called Kobe Mural, at Kobe Mural, and then his website is kobemural.com. And I'm saying that for a reason, because anyone can go there and see a map of the world, almost like a Google Earth situation, and you click on a pin, and the mural will come up in whatever city it's in. There's almost 700 murals throughout the world. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to approach Vanessa about this and give it some, you know, respectable time. But she was starting to react to Mike's posts. And when I saw that happening, I reached out to her. And I said, you know, there's something here, you know, whether it's a book or a documentary. And she said, Andy, you're absolutely right. I want to memorialize these murals for my littlest girls who didn't know their dad and their sister. And, you know, that hit me right here. Yeah. And I said, okay, can we work on this together? And she said, absolutely. So I went to the publisher who did the Mamba Mentality book, and the book did very well, of course, and they were they were wonderful about wanting to do this book with my Legends of Sport company, but with me and Vanessa. So stay tuned for that. We're deep into the book. She's actually selected about 100 or so, 120 murals, and that'll be culled down to a little bit of a lesser number. And then, she's going to hopefully write the introduction to the book, and it's going to be quite the book that comes out. Slated to come out on 8/24/25 next summer.
Well, thank you for that, because obviously Kobe's legacy will always live on, and I think we can all appreciate you for doing this.
Thank you.
I want to go back in time a little bit.
Don't give me anything I can't remember.
Your first NBA job was being a photographer for the All-Star game back in 1983.
Yeah.
What do you remember about that game specifically? And talk about how the evolution of photography and what it's become to today, because you've seen it all.
Well, the thing I remember most about it, quite honestly, and I remember it like it was yesterday, I remember standing at center court. It was a noon game at the Forum. It was a game. It wasn't a weekend. It was a game. And I'm standing there out there, and here's the West team with Magic and Kareem and all George Gervin and all the greats. There's the East team with Bird and McHale and Isaiah Thomas, all these guys. Marvin Gaye is singing the anthem like 6 feet away from me, which we know now is probably the most iconic rendering of the national anthem in history. And I'm standing there and I'm saying, this is cool. I was nervous as hell, but I'm like, I could live with this.
You want to do this?
Great. Yeah. And the circumstances that came about, I just got to tell you really quick, is that I was starting out. This is my second year of shooting NBA basketball as a freelancer. And I became really good friends with the Lakers PR director, who took me aside in November of 82. It's the 82-83 season.
Right.
And I remember the season had just started, and he took me aside and said, Andy, the NBA just announced they're going to do the All-Star game here in February. It's like 4 months away. So maybe they need a photographer. I'm just thinking, they didn't ask us for a photographer. Maybe they need one. And I happened to be going home to visit my family in New York over the Thanksgiving holiday. And he told me, call this guy. There were like 5 people working in the league office at that point, right? I called this guy named Porter McKinnon. He ran the only publication the NBA did. It was called NBA Today. I went in there with my little meager portfolio. And this guy worked on the Friday of Thanksgiving weekend, believe it or not, because the season was going on, know. I went in there to the league office, and he looked at my work, and he said, so let me understand something. He said, you live in L.A.? And I said, yeah. He says, we don't have to travel you, right? And I said, no. He said, we don't have to feed you, right? And I said, no. He said, well, we hadn't thought about having an official photographer. Yeah, sure, why not, kid? Come do the game for us.
Wow.
Literally how it happened.
And then from then, you continue to ride it.
Well, then things started really to take off.
Right.
I started working really closely with Terry Lyons out of league office, who you might know. Terry was charged, he's a PR guy, but he was charged with whatever, quote, I'm putting in air quotes, photo needs, because there really weren't many photo needs in those days. But, when he needed stuff, he would call me, and I would send him film. I mean, this is the film days before digital. Or he would get me credentials for games, and then that turned into, okay, well, we need somebody to shoot the NBA Finals in 83 and then 84. And then they started doing international stuff. And by 1986, there were more licensees on board. Showtime and the Lakers-Celtic era was in full swing. And lo and behold, Terry and I presented with Nat Butler. We presented the idea, a concept called NBA Photos, which would be kind of a central archive. It was very important for David Stern to archive the history of the game forward, but also backward. So we were charged with go find archives of photographers who shot in the 40s and 50s and 60s and 70s, because I started in the 80s. And let's build an archive. Let's build the history of the league. Really, they were making up for lost time. So we did that, and NBA Photos became what it is, which is really the benchmark for syndication, for distribution, for archiving of NBA photography, and has become the model for every league and team in the world.
Right. You documented 2 dynasties, really, with the Showtime Lakers in the 80s, and then fast forward to Shaq and Kobe.
Yeah.
Looking back at it now, how cool is that to say that you were part of that experience.
Well, let's not forget there was a guy named Michael Jordan who won 6 championships with 2 3-peats.
We can go have a story about Jordan too.
Right. But if you're talking about the Lakers specifically, Alex, it was amazing. Laker organization back in those days was so great to work with. I'm so thankful to Mitch Kupchak and Jerry West, and especially to Pat Riley, the Buss family, because I was this young whippersnapper, kind of a semi-aggressive, annoying kid with a camera, and they welcomed me. They saw something in me that I could provide a great service, and my photography, I guess, was pretty good. So it was great. But the trust that I was able to build during Showtime, especially through Pat Riley and Magic, and then, of course, Jerry West was the gatekeeper, and then Mitch when he took over, that translated right into the Shaq and Kobe era.
Right.
To the point where, when I met Kobe at 18 years old on Media Day, 1996, his rookie Media Day, he said that he knew where I was because, A, he had all my posters on the wall, which he liked to say, but he knew my history with the Lakers. And that was really comforting to me and affirming that, what, I've made a mark and I've earned the trust of the organization, and now it's my job not to screw it up.
I can go on and on about iconic photo after iconic photo, but to name a few, the Jordan free throw line dunk, Jordan and Kobe both holding the trophy after they won it.
Yeah.
These photos, looking back at it, they really define these players' careers.
Yeah,
They're everywhere. How special is that to you?
Well, first, I'll answer in a second. What's your favorite picture that I ever shot?
So I did some research today. I had to look up Andy Bernstein photography. And I love the young Froby windmill one.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Jordan free throw line's iconic. But I think the two pictures where they're both holding the trophies, because it shows how, all the work they put in. When you think of Kobe and Jordan, you think of those pictures, them being just those psychotic about winning, and it kind of just shapes their entire career.
Well, people forget that it took Michael Jordan 7 years to get to that point.
That's a good point.
And so all that emotion is coming out. He had to get through Detroit, beating the hell out of him, every conference final.
Bad boys.
And that Eastern Conference was tough, man. That was like a cage match every night. Kobe was a little younger when he won his first title in 2000, but there was still a lot of he had to prove everybody wrong that he deserved to be in the league. This young kid right out of high school, that he and Shaq could win together. Of course, they had the great Phil Jackson, guiding the ship. So, those two eras they're very similar but different because of the personalities. But I'm so grateful to have been around to have documented both.
I've heard you talk that you have a great relationship with Pat Riley. But at first, he was a little standoffish and was kind of weird about you, getting in the locker room, taking photos. And I think that ties into my next question of, it's really important to build relationships, having a long career like that. Like, it's not, you can't just walk in and start taking pictures or whatever it is you want to be. You got to build relationships and kind of lay the groundwork for all of that.
Absolutely. I mean, it all revolves around a few things, Alex. One is you have to be your authentic self all the time. People, especially in our business, they can see through you in a second if you're not being your authentic self, or you're being fake, or you're trying to work the system or whatever. So I always try to be my authentic self. I also never tried to make it about me. I wanted it to be truly a fly on the wall. And the third of four things is integrity. You have to have the utmost of integrity. Never give people a inkling that you have some other motive involved. And the last thing, of course, they all ties together under the word trust. They need to trust you, and you have to earn that trust. Nobody has given you trust in life or in work. And in our business, in professional sports, you got one shot at it, really. And if you screw that up, you'll never go back. You'll never be allowed in the locker room, never be allowed around the team. And I had to earn that. Pat Riley made me earn that trust. It was very frustrating. Pat and I joke about it now, but as a young photographer, I was almost, I can tell this story if you have a second, but I not that I was going to pack it in, but I was getting really frustrated.
It's probably not easy to get on his good side, Pat Riley.
Well, he's Pat Riley, and, here I am, this young photographer, and I'm on the baseline. I'm starting to do stuff for the NBA, and, he had just become coach. And pregame, when he brings the team in and he's, going over the stuff on the clipboard, and I would inch my way in, and he would give me one of these, or something a little bit more flamboyant. And I kept doing it, and then a timeout I would do it, and then when, in between, when they come back after halftime, I would do it. And he just kept shushing me and pushing me out, and to the point where the guys were looking like, who is this kid? Get out of here. So I was getting frustrated. And one game, pregame, I remember it was a Sunday game, and I'm setting my gear up on the baseline, and I happened to catch his eye while the guys are warming up. And I had given up trying to get in the huddle at that point. And I catch his eye, and he gives me one of these, like your dad or your school principal.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, my God, that's like the end of a really short career right there, buddy. He's going to, call me out or something. So I go slinking over there. I said, yes, coach. He goes, kid. And he used a lot of colorful Schenectady language. That's where he's from, which I'm not going to use here, so you can imagine. He says, kid, why the blank do you keep blank trying to get in my blank and huddle? Because every blanking time you blank and try to do that, I keep blanking you, tell you to get the blank out. And he just looks at me like, what is your problem?
Yeah, yeah.
And I said, coach, and this is a moment of truth, and we all sort of have moments of truth in our life. I could have, just kind of put my tail between my legs and walked out of the arena for good. I said, coach, you know what? I respect that it's private in there with you, but I'm also a fan. And all these fans and the fans that look at my photos and big basketball Laker fans, they want to see what's going on. You're in the huddle with Magic and Kareem and Bill Burka, and you're drawing out plays. And it's so interesting to me as a fan. I want to show the rest of the fans what goes on. And even TV he didn't allow TV in the huddle, right, if you can imagine. So he looks at me and he takes a second, and he goes, all right, kid. He goes, I'm going to give you one chance to do it. If you screw it up, you're never coming back in my huddle, ever. I'm like, okay. So I spent that game being very stealthy, getting in, getting out. And that was on a Sunday. Tuesday, remember this like it was yesterday, Alex. Tuesday, I come in early for the game, which I always do, and I go to his office at the Forum. I have a file folder of photos. I put it on his, I don't say anything. I just take the file folder, put it on his desk, and he's sitting there going over game notes. And he looks up, and I said, I pointed at him, and he starts going through them.
Wow. Like
this, right? He goes, you are in my blanket huddle? And I said, mission accomplished.
And that relationship still lasts
today.
Oh,
he totally respected that.
Yeah,
totally respected it. And, we laughed we were at the Showtime reunion last year in Maui. And I told that story in front of the whole team, and they just fell off their chairs because that's Pat, that's Coach right there.
That's awesome, man. So you've since retired from photography and said you've touched the camera for the last time.
Yeah.
Why are you so sure, and what do you want your legacy to be for, hundreds and thousands of kids who want to follow in your footsteps as a photographer?
Well, great question. First of all, as a photographer, all I want is for you to remember my photos and have it make you feel something. Like you were there, your dad brought you to that game, whatever it could be, but that was your favorite player, his favorite team. When people come up to me and say, oh, I love that Kobe picture, I love that Jordan or that Shaq, that warms my heart. That's why I'm out there. That's why the NBA paid me to be out there for so long. But, everything has to come to an end at some point. And, I love my profession. I love my job. I love my craft. The craft of sports photography is really important to me to move into the next generation, to help the next generation, become really great photographers. So just as Kobe helped the next generation of basketball players, and we're seeing that here, even here at Summer League, what's going on with the veterans and the Players Association, the retired players trying to encourage the young guys. I'm doing that, Nat Butler's doing that. We want the craft of sports photography to be in good hands. Now that my butt isn't on the floor anymore, which is fine. I spent a lot of times with my butt on the floor, over 4,000 games. That's a lot. Yeah. But like I said earlier, I got a lot to do with Legends of Sport. It means a lot to me. The podcast is really important. But us as a platform, an event company, a way for people to learn about the icons of the game, that's our mission.
Andy, thank you so much for taking the time
You're
to
welcome.
do this. I know you're busy. You've had double-digit episodes these past few days. But I appreciate the time and looking forward to what comes next.
Thanks, Alex. Great to see you, buddy.
Yeah.